Today at Waterloo, Napoleon has a different plan. He's going to demonstrate with his whole line like this to hold the British in place, while Durlan, his second corps, stiffened with some young guard, come around the flank. Now he doesn't know it, but of course he's going to run into the Prussians. My plan, as a player with perfect knowledge of the battle and who's going to arrive, is that Durlan's going to come around and take out the Prussian army as it filters in. And if the British army shifts to assist their Prussian allies, then the rest of this line, 1st Corps, 6th Corps, all the cavalry, will rush them from the side. That's the plan. We all know how plans work out. This time, around noon, after the heavy rains of the previous day, Napoleon has given up on the artillery being able to shell ahead of time. The ground's just too wet. It's not going to dry out. As planned, Durlan's corps begins the flanking move. The British have observed Napoleon's flanking move and shift a few units in that area. Prussians enter turn 1 with Bülow's 4th Corps, doing 1/3 of a move. The Prussians are so spread out with their baggage train that it'll take a long time for them to arrive in strength on the battlefield. Turn 2. Napoleon begins advancing his right, looking menacing. The Prussian cavalry spots the flanking move. Zieten's 1st Prussian Corps, along with Blücher himself, show up on turn 2. Early this morning, the surprise appearance by the Prussians was noticed by forward French scouts. They sent word to Napoleon. Napoleon said, "Knock them out." Reille responds with French elan. Durlan's corps creeps forward. Reille and Bülow on the French right. Not without difficulty, the Prussians are driven back. Turn 3. Durlan's artillery fires on what few British they can actually see. Everyone else is behind on reverse slopes. It's just a detachment and it's driven back. Ordinarily, when a unit is driven back, it pushes everyone in front of it. So but we're not going to do that for detachments. Had this been a regular unit, it would have pushed these 3 units ahead of it as it routed. But this is just a detachment, and they let it through. And for the record, that is a rule that's under discussion. It's not an official rule. Now you'll notice here, as I bring on the Prussian 1st Corps, I'm very careful to separate the oncoming troops. So this block will be using this much of its movement stick just to get to the board. And that's how I keep track of how quickly the Prussians can come on. It's a long process to get the entire Prussian corps on the map. Reille continues to drive hard into the Prussian army. And now another Prussian corps arrives, Purcha's 2nd Corps. And Reille wonders, did Grouchy do nothing yesterday? Turn 3 combat. The Prussian line is driven back into itself. Disaster for Reille. With heavy losses, his troops fall back. Meanwhile, his cavalry is engaged in a battle with the Prussian cavalry. Prussians are flanked by the young guard, using their battalion guns to add what they can to the battle. The Prussian cavalry quickly falls back. Turn 4. Napoleon gets reports of the disaster on the right and begins re-evaluating his initial battle plan. He readies his guard, starts edging his line forward. Over on the Allied left, Bülow recovers his cavalry and sends his men forward. It's usually late afternoon before the Prussians can assemble and attack Planchenoit, as they did historically. But by running into them right away on turn 1, they play a much more significant part of the battle. Reille's troops fall back and prepare to hold. And a loud, clear voice booms across the battlefield. "Vorwärts!" Blücher pushes Zieten's men into the front line. Blind and desperate, the French artillery fires at British on a reverse slope. To no effect. Nevertheless, Lobau attacks. Wellington adjusts his line. The Prince of Orange moves out. Durlan's 1st Corps comes alive. Their artillery fires. It's now about dinner time and the fighting gets hot. On the British right, Wellington's troops are reeling under the French assault. Lobau's assault in the center. British Great makes its first assault troops pay. Lobau's assault fails. The British hold. Blucher's Prussian drive. The Prussian assault creates a hole in the French line. Turn 5. Wellington deploys bags. Gentlemen, we're going to hold here. This line will not fail. Kellerman's cuirassiers charge. Retreating British. Sweeping away more British artillery. Uxbridge countercharges with the British Household Guard. With their last effort, the French cuirassiers drive off the British Household Guard into the rest of the British retreating troops. It's chaos. But the French cuirassiers are no more. It was their last ride to glory. Through all the confusion, the Prussians continue to mass. Guards' artillery fires into the British lines, but the reverse slope deployment protects them. Desperate, Napoleon orders his cavalry into the British line. Forward! Blucher yells again. Wellington orders the Coldstream Guards to patch up the British center. Prince of Orange reacts to the French cavalry drive and has his troops form square. And he launches his Dutch cavalry dragoons into the retreating French. Lobau reorganizes his 6th Corps to face the Dutch cavalry assault, and Superby's lancers hit them from the side. Meanwhile, the British troops are slowly recovering next to the bags. D'Erlon has a plan to outflank the British. His artillery drives off the troops on the flank, and he countercharges the British Coldstream Guard advance and flanks them. Reille scrambles back as fast as he can. Late in the day, let us see what can be done. D'Erlon's surprise counterattack. The British Guards fall back. The French dragoons fall back when they see the British squares. And the Dutch cavalry are overwhelmed and ride off. Turn 6. The sun is setting on this long summer day. D'Erlon's exhausted and disorganized troops reform their lines. The British begin reforming their lines. Although these troops are behind the woods and the hill, the British artillery can still see Lobau's lancers on this hill, and they fire, putting them in some disorder. All the British troops that were in such confusion have now reorganized, and they're ready to go. Here it is, turn 6 of the 7-turn game, and finally, all of Bülow's 4th Corps is in position and ready to attack. French 4th Cavalry Corps reorganizes and rallies. Reille's 2nd Corps deploys bags and recovers. Forward! Is heard again, and Zieten's exhausted men drive ahead. And all of Zieten's Corps is on the map. Zieten and Blucher's 1st Corps assault into Lobau's flanks. With heavy losses, Lobau's men fall back. The exhausted Prussians with the final drive into fresh French troops. Alas, it was not to be. It's now the final turn. It's late night. There's not much light left. Napoleon is in a desperate situation. He has lost almost twice as many troops as the combined armies. Napoleon is despondent. Grouchy never arrived. His daring flank move ran into complete disaster with the arrival of the Prussian army. Though his army is still in fairly good condition, he knows he can't face the combined Allied armies. Napoleon has lost Waterloo. Alright, in the setting sun of Waterloo, Napoleon has decided that a flank move which runs into the Prussians early is not the way to go. Fortunately, he knows this is pub battles, and you can just set it up and try again. And remember, all through the month of July, you can enter for a drawing to win a free copy of Pub Battles Antietam. So if you're wondering about trying the system out, what a great way to do it. The link for the contest will be up at the end of this video. Thanks for watching.